What's good, J-Life? It's your boy MC Shadow back at you with another video. Make sure you guys like, comment, and are subscribed to the channel. It's absolutely free. That is how you help my channel get into the algorithm. Highly appreciate if you go ahead and do that. Don't forget to check out my second channel. That's Man in Society M.O.D. That's Man in Society M.O.D. That's where we go live. Pretty much talk about anything and everything. Right now, what I wanted to discuss was actually a clip that I was sent by one of my subscribers. Right, he told me, "What do I think about this video?" And it was a video that was done by a YouTuber named cartoon53. Right, he was a crip, or he's a crip. Right. Um, and he has made a few videos, because a part of the one that the subscriber has sent me in a link, I had also went and scoped out his channel and had seen that he had made several videos about Mexicans, right? And like I said, these are just my opinions right here, just giving my perspective on the matter, right? Of just here, having conversation, debating, uh like adults, being civil. um But he was playing some clippings of certain YouTubers out there who had some problems with the brothers getting you know their what they deserve, right? um and So he said that he was pretty much saying that how Mexicans are, how they like to do this and like to do that, and how we like to throw shade at them and pretty much hate on them, hate on the brothers, right? Now, to that I say, now I understand, why, an individual would get worked up, hearing that, considering, if you're proudful in your ethnicity, right? But people always have to keep in mind that individuals can only speak in behalf of themselves, right? Whenever you hear an individual giving you their perspective or their opinion, that's in behalf of just themselves, right? They don't speak in behalf of the raza or the Mexicans. You know what I mean? They can only speak in behalf of themselves. They only reflect their teachings, the way they think, and the way they are, not the group in general. Now, we can say, well, he ain't the only one. There's several others. Yes, like I said, but those others don't speak in behalf of the whole entire ethnicity, right? You know, let's say if it's a total of 15,000 that think like that, that's still a small percentage when we're talking about the millions of Mexicans that there is, right? To say that they all think like that, right? If it's only just like, let's say 15,000, which is a lot, which is a big number, right? But if we're talking about in the overall of millions of people, then it's no longer a big number, right? Um, then it's like, okay, well, majority of them don't think like that, compared to if you're just hearing, like, let's say 15,000, then you're gonna assume that all of them think like that, when that's not the case. We can't get lost in just these individuals and what they're saying and thinking that they speak in behalf of the raza, or they reflect the raza's teachings or the way that they get down, right? And 9 times out of 10, individuals beefs are always with the southerners, right? The southerners politics, the southerners way of thinking, the southerners, right? Not Mexicans, not the raza, and not the brown folks. They're two different groups, right? Even though they are raza, um, the raza doesn't think like that and don't live by those ideologies that the Southerners do, right? So we can't get worked up about what one YouTuber said, right, and now target the whole entire ethnicity. If anything, people need to call out those specific, people that they have a problem with, those specific, whoever they hear, saying the things that they say, right? Instead of trying to, throw it upon, what if the rest of the individuals who don't think like that or don't agree with what these individuals are saying, why should they be getting dissed, or why should they be getting put in the same basket when, let's say, they probably even disagree with those individuals? So why put them in the same basket as, these individuals are all the same? And I see several individuals that like to do that, right? It's kind of like pushing the negativity between, ethnicities and groups, when it don't got to be like that. You know what I mean? um, because, like I said, both of our cultures are beautiful, both of our cultures are equal. Both of our cultures have had good histories together amongst each other, right? If you look at the history of the raza and the history of the brothers, you would see, a good relationship, between us. Meaning back then, right? As time has gone by, people have, lost their education and, are pretty much ignorant on both sides. You know what I mean? I don't think that my culture is better than the brothers' culture, right? And I wouldn't say that the brothers' culture is better than my culture, right? I think all our cultures are the same, beautiful. We all have good things to bring to the table, and hey, every group has their negative, people to them, their negative behaviors, their negative, they're bad apples, you know. But all our ethnicities have, good people in it, intelligent, strong, um, you wise, attractive, but everybody has something good to bring to the table, right? We shouldn't focus just on certain individuals who don't know how to carry themselves, right? And not want to reflect that upon the whole entire ethnicity, because that's what creates racism. You know what I mean? Because you want to brand a whole entire group a certain way based off of your interactions with certain individuals, when that's not right. Why should all those people get put in the same basket because of these individuals' ignorance, right? When, let's say, these individuals don't even agree with these folks, on what they were saying, you know, because I didn't agree with it in raza. You get what I mean? So to say that, Mexicans, or targeting the ethnicity in itself isn't right and isn't fair, you know, um, because, like I said, I mean, I wouldn't do that to a brother. There's brothers on here that I disagree with, that I feel pushes a propaganda, like Red Supreme TV, right? Is somebody who I disagree with, and I feel like he pushes this propaganda message. But I wouldn't say, oh, you see how the brothers are, you see how the brothers get down, or, oh, you see, you know what I mean? Because I know that all brothers are not like that, and I know that they, it would be foolish of me to think that they're all like that just because of this individual. Like, no, this individual doesn't, his perspective doesn't reflect on the group, right? So I wouldn't come and say that, because that wouldn't be right. You get what I'm saying? um so I think people, just need to uh you know think about that, right? Like, instead of, attacking the whole entire group, just keep it between you and the individual that you're having the disagreement with, because in all true reality, that's really what it comes down to. The groups have nothing to do with this, the ethnicities have nothing to do with this. You know what I mean? Because, like I said, our cultures together, have, been able to coexist, for a long time, peacefully and righteously. I mean, both groups discovered Los Angeles, because the Spaniards is the ones that discovered Los Angeles, right? Took over, right? But it was a group of Mexicans, indigenous, and African Americans that discovered Los Angeles. Well, they were sent there. They were sent there by the Spanish Empire, but before the Spanish Empire, actually, the land was actually housed by Russians. Russians were the ones that came and set up shop first, right? And then the Spanish, military came. Well, the Spanish army came and, pretty much, conquered and gave them the boot, and, set up shop for themselves. Now, the Russians didn't retaliate at the time because they didn't feel like it was worth, traveling the distance for, to battle for some land that, they had barely themselves, were settling down in, right? It would cost too much money, too much equipment, and, they just didn't see it worth it. Um, so, both of our groups were able to accomplish a lot of things, right, together. As a matter of fact, Mexico had made it back in the days, when it was slavery going, around here in America. Mexico made it slavery illegal in Mexico, and they would help brothers from America go to Mexico, right? And as soon as they got to Mexico, they would automatically become citizens, so they wouldn't have to worry about getting deported. And, they were giving work and homes and all of that, right? Because the president of Mexico was black. The first president of Mexico was black, well, half black, right? So, like I said, we have done, you know things for each other throughout history, right? But it gets lost because people, don't educate themselves. Like I said, on both sides, right? Um, because this whole thing that one group is more superior than the other is a stupid way of thinking. You know, um, of course, we're all going to be proud of our ethnicities, but be proud in your ethnicity without having to put down another ethnicity. You get what I'm saying? Because that's not right either. There is no such thing as number one. Number one does not exist in this world. You know, we're all equal because we're all the same. We all need food and water to survive in this bitch. No one's better than no other person. But overall, that's just my opinions on the matter. Shadow, we out.